Feast your eyes on a beauty. The boys and girls from Solihull have really delivered something exceptionally pleasing to the eye here. This is the brand new Jaguar XE R-Sport. And I think you'll agree, on the outside, this car truly is a masterpiece.
So this is a Jaguar, okay? The very best of British engineering and excellence and prestige. I'm aware of that, and I love the Jaguar brand. It's one of my favourite car brands of all time. And I have to say, in terms of presentation, this does kind of feel a bit like a Jaguar should. I really do think it's very grand and ostentatious. However, there are a few things I would like to point out. The gear selector, that's been nicked off a Land Rover. And obviously, as we know, Jaguar Land Rover, they work in cahoots. So they've obviously decided that's a bit from the Land Rover we can poach. And this start-stop engine button, now that is poached straight out of a Ford. I'm fairly sure that's on the Mondeo. And these flappy paddles behind the steering wheel, they look like toys. They're not even a proper half-hearted attempt at flappy paddles. And to be honest, in this 8-speed gearbox, the way it is with the DSG, the gear change is so swift, you don't actually need these. That's not right. That's not right at all. But it does make that noise. So we'll let it off for a moment.
So that's inside the car. But what about on the open road?
This does have a lot to live up to though, the Jaguar. It's important that it does a good job because Jaguar is a very prestigious brand. It has a certain elan. So the pressure is on here a bit for Jaguar. But like all proper Jaguars should be, it is completely and totally chock full of gadgets and toys, and I do quite like that. The DAB radio is one of the best I've ever seen in a car, if I'm honest. The leather finished dashboard is very pretty for those who like that sort of thing. Cruise control, voice activation, Bluetooth, rain sensor, climate control, the start-stop function which saves even more fuel, and the satellite navigation system and traffic master, which I guarantee you means that with those two combined, you will never ever lose your way or ever have an excuse for not knowing where the traffic is. It is stunning.
So just like any sophisticated 21st century Jaguar should be, this is packed to the rafters with gadgets and gizmos. But does it drive like a pure Jaguar?
It's not feeling much more sprightly than my own Mazda 5. I mean, it has a little bit of a punch, but not like a Jaguar should. It's leaving me a little bit underwhelmed. You see, the XE replaced the X-Type. Now, that is a very, very daring move to make because I'm a big X-Type fan. I loved the Jaguar X-Type. It was one of my favourite Jaguars of all time. So this has obviously got to be better than that to be a proper replacement. And so far, I'm not feeling it. This car was designed by Ian Callum, which is why the exterior looks so beautiful. But then Ian Callum is the same man who came up with the Nissan R390 Le Mans 24-hour sports car, as well as the designs for the Aston Martin DB7 and Aston Martin Vanquish. So we know that aesthetically this car is brilliant. So all the nerds out there want to know the stats, the numbers. Okay, so this is the 2-litre automatic diesel. It's the 8-speed gearbox, and I have to say, I am cruising along here at 50 miles an hour in 8th gear, barely using any fuel at all. The car is literally just going, that's all I need. No more, no more. 140 miles an hour. Yeah, it's a little blip on the radar, a little blip. Brake horsepower, 178. Blip again. 0 to 60, 7.8 seconds. That is slow for a Jaguar. I mean, it's quick for a normal saloon, but Jaguars are not normal saloons. They are luxurious, they are prestigious. They have motorsport pedigree. And this is average. average. But in terms of safety, this is very, very safe. You've got your traction control system, tyre pressure control, hill holder, heated seats, so you won't freeze to death. I'm trying to think of positive things to say here. Positive things to say. The alloy wheels look very good. Yes, they do. They look very good. Yes. The panoramic view, sexy. Yeah, sexy. But with everything else, I'm left bored. And that isn't right. I should not be bored by a Jaguar. It's got no character. It's got no zap. James Bond would go, isn't there a better Aston available? But it's clear that Jaguar has a particular target market for this car. It's for the slightly older Jaguar owner who wants to save some of the money that they've made. And you will with this car, because wait for it. This produces 104 grams of CO2 per kilometre. That means that its fuel consumption is an amazing combined total of 67.3 miles to the gallon. Wow. I'm sorry, that is remarkable. And as a result of that, this car costs just 30 quid a year to tax. That means you could go and watch the next James Bond movie on the big screen, taking your significant other with you, and you'll still spend more money that night on the tickets, the popcorn, the drinks, the snacks, than you will to tax this Jaguar for a year. That's impressive. Really impressive.
So what you lose in oomph, you're getting back in value for money and economy. But here's the thing. This is a Jaguar. This is beef on the bone British grit. I'm not entirely sure I want economy from a Jaguar.
Oh, I'm so sorry, everybody. I love Jaguars. There's something so patriotically British about them. But this is just so boring and dull. I might as well be in a Vauxhall Insignia, or a Ford Mondeo, or a Kia. See, Jaguar has this reputation and elan behind it. There are some cars that you should be able to just buy and it doesn't make a difference. And I think Jaguar is one of those, which is why, even though I'm not a big fan of the XE R-Sport, I can kind of forgive them for it. It's a bit like Coca-Cola. We know that every can of Coca-Cola has 6 to 7 teaspoons of sugar in it. And that there's no way we would ever consume that much in one drink in one sitting. Not if we weren't criminally insane. But it's Coca-Cola. It tastes so good. So we forgive them and we ignore it conveniently. Apple, the iPhone 7, it's awful, it's rubbish, it's appalling. But it's an Apple phone, so you'll buy it and you'll love it. Same with Jaguars. Even if it's not the greatest car they've ever made, it's a Jaguar. This is a slightly more glamorous interpretation of what happened when Aston Martin decided they were going to bring out their own version of the IQ and call it a Signet, just so that their statistics were a little bit greener. This is the greenest Jaguar I've ever driven, but I'm not particularly excited by it. And that's annoying because I really want to be. I really, really want to be excited by this car. It's a Jaguar, for goodness sake. It's a British institution. It's motoring royalty. And yet I really don't want to be bored. But I am bored. I can't argue with the 67.3 miles to the gallon that this thing does. And I do believe it. Because it is very good in terms of the way the gearbox changes. Almost without having to think about when it changes gear, it changes gear. But this is a disappointment for the most controversial reason of all. This is a Jaguar. I should want to put my foot down. When you've got 3 cereals in the cupboard, one of them is Crunchy Nut cornflakes, one of them is Wheatos, and the other one is All-Bran. You're being told you have to eat the All-Bran before you can open the other 2 boxes. You have to eat the All-Bran. I should be impressed. I should be blown away. I should be knocked off my socks. Instead, I just want to go to bed. Such a shame. Such a shame.
But let's look at the positive side. If you're one of those people who loves looking at Jaguars, but think they're too fast, too noisy, too expensive and drink too much fuel, then at last, here is the perfect Jaguar for you.